Welcome back. It's art time again. Before we get started today, I just want to show you some pictures that I'm not using of today's subject, which is my friend McGeagh's dog, Lluna. Lluna is literally the most adorable dog in the world, and I say that as a dog owner who owns a different dog. She is adorable. Like, she is the cutest dog. I just wanted to show some pictures of Lluna so that you could see how amazing this dog is. Like, I was so tempted to use this image as my reference image, but I did say I was going to use full body images of the animals from this point on, and this sadly cuts off just below there. I've just realised I've left my camera in the wrong position. I should put it on this monitor and also maybe zoom it out a bit. So look at me being all unprofessional. I thought I'd got everything set up this time, but of course, like a fool, I have ignored one aspect of it. Figure video, camera control. Oh, it is zoomed out all the way. Wow, you really can see all the way up my nose on that. All right. I guess it's always looked like this. Fair enough. So yeah, this is Lluna. And just look at that smile, that award-winning smile. That's an amazing dog, that. But the picture I'm going to be using is this one here, because who could say no to that face? This is probably going to take a very long time. I did say yesterday this dog is a blue merle, and what that means, let's get rid of this. What that means is that she is a combination. Normally, a border collie such as this would be entirely black and white. So I'd have dark patches, light patches, very easy to do. But a blue merle has these in-between patches. Oh, is this going to start messing with me again? A blue merle has these sort of... Why can't I... Oh, so irritating. Right, there we go. A blue merle has these areas like this where there's sort of a... I'm going to have to do a kind of a wispiness there and a wispiness here, and then sketch in all this with individual lines. So this is going to be another one of those where 50% of the video is just me doing hatches to try and fit the colouring pattern in. C'est la vie. There we go. So structurally, there's quite a lot of perspective in this image. The head is a very... I'm going to give myself a better construction colour. The head is a very clear circle there. Not too worried about that. So I know I can get the circle there, and then the muzzle has a kind of like that's the shape of it, like that. And then we can see the underside here. I'm not too worried about being able to construct that. I think that I'm going to have an easy time with that. Now the eyes are sort of they're up here, but I think like that tempts me to sort of say that the head is tilted up, because it is. So the head's going to be tilted up like so, with the eyes on this kind of footing. The nose is meant to be central to the face, but because of the... Actually, should the nose be central to the face if that's tilted upwards? I guess the perspective on this is being very, very much emphasised by the proximity of the camera. So it's almost got this sort of fisheye thing going on. But look at the size of those ears. I was just sketching the outline of them there. These ears are absolutely gorgeous and enormous. Then you have, of course, the big ruff. This is all neck around here. All this part here and all this part here is all neck. That goes under the collar. Collar on there. And then from that we have a sort of chest line here, which goes back to a belly line. That's all knee and that's all paw. And then we have the tail, paw there. That's how I'm going to have to construct it. In terms of scale, the body shape is sort of an egg, twice the size of the head. That's not going to be too difficult, because as you can see, the head and the body kind of meet on a tangent, which is really useful. No obvious ratio there. But I would say that the head is approximately twice as wide as the body, and the body's got a kind of 2/3 scaling to it, and we'll worry about the knee afterwards. I'm not too worried about getting the scale and the structure of this right. I'm incredibly worried about getting the pattern of the fur right, and possibly the position of this leg, which I will worry about later. So, going straight in with our pencil sketches. Now, I don't want to put there's a temptation to put the head up there, and if I put the head up there, there's not going to be room for the ears. So I need to be careful with this. So if I create the head about that kind of size, that seems about right, and then the body, as we said, was sort of on a tangent to it, like there. No, because that's the halfway point. The halfway point, it should cut through. It should come to about here. So the body's going to be about that size. And the head's going to be about that size. Maybe a bit more body. Actually, yeah, there we go. We have that upward facing head, but then this is going to fill only this much of the canvas. Get it right, Stace. If we want to fill the whole canvas, the head needs to be... In fact, let's start with the body. Let's be intelligent about this. The body is going to fill the most of the page. So if we start with the body in the right place, then we can get the head. Actually, the body's got a slight tilt that way, hasn't it? It's not a straight circle. Although we've kind of captured that already. But let's have another go. The body's that kind of shape. There we go. Perfect. Ish. And then the head sits here on the body as a perfect circle. A perfect circle. Well, we did say it's about twice the... Yeah. Yes, I would say that that is the correct scale for those two elements, roughly. We can work with that, I think. No, we can't, because that's too wide and possibly too large. Maybe this isn't going to be as easy as I thought. That'll do. So, we have the line here for the eyes, which will be approximately here and here. We have... I should bring my reference image up in the background as well, because I normally do that, and I've not done it here today. Oop. There we go, there's my reference image in the background. So... yeah, the nose would therefore be about here, because we have the muzzle line that sort of comes down the centre here and around here down to the kind of that part, and then we have that. This dog is just so smiley. It's difficult to comprehend from looking at the shape of this, but the dog is a very smiley dog. So it's I'm working on the assumption that this will all make sense when I actually come to sort of fill it in and stuff. But this is sort of the shape of this dog's face. She's just a very, very good girl. And then we have the muzzle end there, but it does go all the way back into a big smile, which then comes out. There's like a flat part here. In fact, it overlaps with the bottom of the head quite a lot. I feel like the underside of the head, I've over-egged that. Ratios. The muzzle nearly touches where the bottom of that is, and the bottom of this muzzle is nowhere near enough. So I need to take off all of the work I've just done, because it's all wrong. It's all wrong! The nose needs to be approximately there, is where the little black nose is. Which then gives us a muzzle tip that is about here-ish. Inner edge of the eyes. You know, it doesn't have a... See, I always want to draw an eye like that, because that's like how I think of an eye. But with a lot of animals, it's only got like the outer part of that, so it's actually more round like that. Now we know that we're going to have this sort of coloration pattern here. We also know this comes up to a smile, and then that goes down into a big sort of jaw part. Tongue here. The rest of this is teeth. Yeah, that's kind of about right, I think. Thereabouts. And then this sort of fur pattern on the head goes like this. I mean, this does not look good for Homestar Ronald. I've not given myself enough room for the ears again. I've done it too large. The whole thing is too large. I can't fit those ears on the picture now because they're going to come up here and off the picture. Because the ears are so big. She's such a good girl. She's got enormous ears. They'll just about fit on the image, but I feel like they need to be bigger. There's this real kind of open roundness to the eyes. And I've not, you know what? I'm very tempted to just start again. I've done this so badly. You know, I am actually going to start again. I know this is the death of creativity, but I am going to start completely again with that sort of jelly bean body. The little it's too far off to one side is the problem. The body needs to be kind of like that, and the head needs to be sort of here-ish. Is there any kind of capture this in like a gesture maybe? Is there something more useful, some more useful way to capture this shape rather than just trying to draw two circles and get it right? I feel like that is maybe the better starting position. So to try and get those two angles. So you have like the front of the body here, the top of the body here, and you try and curve into the shape of it all. Because that's like a 45-degree angle, and that's like a... If we do a 45-degree angle here, I really didn't want to start trying to build things up in terms of angles and things, because this isn't the best way to do art. Like, this is a bad way to do art, generally speaking. It's totally wrong. See, that has to be a little one like that, and that has to be a big one like that. I feel like I've lost my ability to draw. Like, I didn't have much of an ability before, and now I've just completely lost it because I'm too familiar with the subject. And so I'm doing all these... Like, I know that she has a large head, so I'm drawing the head too large for the shape of the rest of her. And that goes up to like that, that goes to like there. That's about right, I guess. Maybe just slim that off a bit. That's more like it, actually. That's actually done a much better job of that. So if I actually come down, there's sort of a ruff around the neck here. And the ears go up to here-ish. I mean, they are huge. Like the ears are just so enormous on this dog. I don't know, it's amazing. They're amazing ears. I'm not trying to like malign this dog for having large ears or anything. It's just... You kind of don't realise how big they are until you try and draw them, and then suddenly they stick out in all directions. Yeah, I think I've actually just doing it as a kind of a rough sketch without any construction. I think I've done a better job than I did before, so I'm going to stick with that now. So then we have this chest part, and then we have a leg that sticks down here. Just a little paw here. And then here there's this big knee. feel like I need to cut the body off a bit shorter because it's... Yeah, and there's our knee. We have the tail comes here-ish. Like that sort of shape. It's more curved than that. And all that is rough on the inside of there. And the back side comes down to here for this sort of big gam that's going on. And then we have the little paw that sticks out underneath. Why does it look wrong? It looks wrong for some reason. I think maybe because now the head is too small and the body's too big for it. Yeah, this butt sticks up too much. Fast fix, because I like what I did with the head there, so I'm going to get rid of the body. Going to get rid of all this body. Going to work backwards from the head, which is dangerous. Don't get me wrong. It's not an ideal way to work, but get the brush size back down. So, as we said, this has a kind of a 45-degree angle down here, whereas this has a much sharper angle down this way. And so from that we can create the body of the dog. Haha. So we know that this part comes down like so, and then you can kind of see where the tail comes out there from behind. And then you have this sort of fluffy knee with the paw, and then where this kind of, you have the chest part here which fluffs out to a leg. There we go. We're getting this right now. So that the shape of that paw is kind of, it's not a big clog like that. It's just doesn't do it. Okay, part of the problem is that I've drawn the perspective on it all wrong, because it starts wider. So just down from about here it sticks out like that, but here it comes in this way. And it comes into a paw, which then splays outward like that. And we have another paw that comes sort of like this, just here. I showed the guinea pig picture from yesterday to my friend Hugh, who also has guinea pigs. I did that for kind of a fun reason, because when I was drawing people's pictures for the September, when I was just trying to draw faces, Hugh kept saying, "Oh, you should have drawn me. You should have drawn me," but he didn't really find out I was doing it until right at the end, after my call for like models and people had gone out. The end result of which meant that Hugh, who is always out for like free artwork and stuff, because you know he's an entertainer. He likes to have fun images to use on his promotional material. He was desperately keen to get a picture of himself, but of course, if you're going to use it professionally, it's going to put too much pressure on me to do a good one. And so I didn't really want that. So it kind of became a running joke that whenever I did one of these things, he would want a picture, but I wouldn't choose like him. And so he's got guinea pigs, and so I wanted to like show it to him because he's got a guinea pig, and I knew that he'd be interested in getting a guinea pig picture, but I knew that he couldn't have one because it was too late, because I'd already done the guinea pig picture. Maybe that's cruel of me. Is that cruel of me? That's probably cruel of me. It is very funny though. So this fur comes out here. And we have a sort of dark part to this bit of the ear and a little fringe on there. I'm trying to do the rougher parts like earlier, so that I can spend more time. Like if I get the dark parts in quickly, then I can spend more time working on the So that's all black. I mean, you could look at it in the sense of, if I get the dark parts done more quickly, then I can spend more time relentlessly just doing hatching on everything else. And then this is the merle part, which will be the merle parts are going to be the parts that take the longest, let's face it. The dark parts are going to be easy, the merle parts are going to be an absolute friggin' nightmare. This is kind of what we've got. That leg is entirely dark, but the paw isn't. There's a little bit of merle just over there. As for the face, do the squint thing again. You kind of have a darkish ring around the eye that comes down to where the mouth is. And this is all merle. Down to about here. You have... And don't get me wrong, I know for a fact that it would be a lot easier if I just used like a grey pen. But I guess I'm obsessed with the look of woodcuts and the thing about having just pure black and white. So I guess I've created a rod for my own back, but it's a rod that I like. And the dark parts are there, right then. And this is all merle. So this is the rough one. I spent all that time doing the hatching on the rough one so I can use it later. Let's do my usual thing of colorizing it. Saturation out. Okay, so time to make the donuts. Now, the first thing is that I did quite a rough line on here, and I want to get the line of this correct. So this actually has a sort of, where the smile of the mouth is, it's got a nice angle down. Back to the brush. It's got a nice kind of angle down. It literally goes sort of down, slight upward curve, and then up. That's kind of the shape of the mouth. And then this comes almost like a straight line down to a sort of leveled off curve and back up again. That's the shape of the dog mouth. The nose I've done too rounded. It's more of a square shape actually. It just sort of comes down to that kind of look. And there's this, oh my god, look at how gorgeous that is. I just want to zoom in on this briefly. This, oh god, no, maybe not that much. But look at that nose. Look at that kind of, whoops. Come back out again. Give me a pen. Give me a pen. I want to show this. Look at that sort of curl there. That curl there. That is a, like, how can I capture that? How can I get that in this image? I suppose the way to do that is to say that the darkest part let's get the colour right. The darkest part of the nose is kind of that curve. You can see that part. except that it's sort of thin there and then gets thicker there. There's sort of a line down the middle, and then there's that. There we go. Right, so it's like that, and then that kind of comes in there, like so. I'm almost certainly going to end up going back to do some kind of stippling on that. But for now, I'm kind of happy with where that's turned out. But when I drew my own dog, when I drew Amber, I feel like I really messed up on the nose. I felt like I could have done a lot better on Amber's nose. So I'm going to do better on this nose. That's my promise to Lluna. I should say, Lluna is spelt with 2 L's, because McGeagh has this obsession with spelling mistakes on his pet's name. So his cats are called Fable with a Y and Novella with only 1 L. So we got the... When you're drawing dogs' teeth, this is the thing that I've learned. When you're drawing dogs' teeth, the main events are the canines here, and then you've got your row of little teeth kind of along the bottom here. Helps if you get an even number. So you get your little teeth down the front there. And then, actually I've drawn the canines at the wrong angle there, because if you look on the original, they're kind of framed by the mouth. Like that. And then we have a... There we go. Then the tongue lolls out and goes in. And behind that we see some other teeth. They're not really that sharp. They're the molars back at that point. Lots of dark areas inside the mouth of a dog, but it's not entirely dark. There's some red parts too. And there is, of course, a little line coming down the tongue. Yeah, I like that. That's looking good. What next? I feel like the nose is too small compared to the mouth. Because if you look at the size of the tongue, the size of the nose, whereas on here, size of the tongue, size of the nose, needs a bigger nose. I spent a lot of time drawing that nose and getting it perfect, but what do they call it? Drown your babies? The nose is almost as wide as the tongue. So we have a line that comes up here. Oops. There is a line that comes directly up from there. And the nose comes off of that to a width of about here. Almost the width of the tongue. And then there's a big sort of rounded top to it. That's more like it. That's a better size comparison. Yeah. So then we have and the nostrils will come like this. Will they? Seem to have suddenly lost the ability to use the pressure sensitivity on this pen. Here we go. We'll work on that later. I'm happier with that now. And in terms of size comparison, if you look at the size of the nose, the size of the eyes are approximately half the size of the nose. So we can get that right. No. There's a kind of... I can't describe it. If I just come in here with a much finer line, that the eye kind of goes up there, like there's a... But the eye itself is round, but it has this sort of elevated part in the lines of it. So the eye itself is oh. The eye itself is round, but there's this kind of darker elevated part, which is the bit that gives the eye of the dog all the emotion. It's a sort of lift. And then we have, let's give the, and then there's a, I know it's a bit early in this image to start doing hatching, but oh god, that was really terrible. That whole thing's really terrible. Pretty much everything except for that first line around there is bad. In fact, firstly, let's not do this yet. Secondly, let's get rid of those. Thirdly, let's make the pupils a little bit larger. As we know, larger pupils makes for cuter animal. This is a law of nature, that the larger the pupils, the cuter the animal. And lastly, let's not do any more attention on the face until we've got the rest of the animal drawn, because the last thing I want is to suddenly realise I have to change something on the face. So we have this fuzzy part here for this ear, and we have the kind of the curl of the fur here. This part, at least we know, is solid. This is pretty much a straight line straight up to there. That is a solid dark area which I'm going to fill immediately. This gets fluffier as it goes down to the point where it just meets up with that. This ear has a kind of curvature to it, like that. Maybe not quite that much. So it starts at an angle here and then curves down. Except it's more of a sort of step change in the angle. That's more like it. And this has a lot more transitionary furriness, let's call it. Which I've just noticed we need to get a bit of white fur coming up into that part there. This dog's going to end up having no solid outline. It's going to be fuzziness all the way. In fact, I feel like maybe just doing the dark parts first would actually make a lot more sense for this dog than doing any kind of outline and then trying to fill it. Yeah, let's do that. Let's make this an experiment. Let's not just make it a Stacey draws an animal day. Let's do Stacey experiments with drawing an animal just with the fur color day. At least attempt to get the known parts first, though. So we know that we have a lot of fur here, because this whole ear basically comes out almost all the way to the edge of the head, and then we have the fur sort of continues along this path, starts to come upwards, and then descends into an actual ear shape. And this is the merle here and here. So there's a dark part here that comes all the way down to sort of the side of the muzzle, just like this one does. The muzzle itself is quite a light colour. It's quite white, so I don't have to worry too much about that. There's a bit of darkness here around this eye. This is the kind of thing that I said that I was going to do a week of, well, I'm split into not weeks this time, but chunks of 10 days. And I missed a day, so I'm doing an extra day of realistic on the 11th. But I did say, well, those are the wrong direction. I did say that one of the things I want to do was to start off doing these sort of pseudo-realistic images where you try and capture all the fur colour and all the texture, and then I wanted to go on to Disney-fied animals to sort of work towards doing just straight up furry art. But the thing is, I don't know how you sort of transition from doing this to doing that, because this is very much the kind of, you know, render every hair. This is the kind of technology that video game producers talk about. Every hair fully rendered, kind of. You know what, that curliness looks completely wrong, and I'll tell you why. It's because I'm trying to do that, and it's not right, because it should be coming in this way and this way. Right then, we have the underside of the jaw. Around here we have hairs that start to come out this way, where it sort of merges together. And that's where this sort of lighter area kind of takes over. So we have the merle underneath, but the lighter area sort of stays white. There's some merle here. But here we just have this kind of white outline. The collar, you see the buckle of it kind of there. And this disappears underneath the furriness. That sort of comes over to here, where there's like a tag. I don't really want to focus on drawing the tag because it's not like any of the furries are going to wear tags. Or do they? Do furries wear tags? Do they wear collars? I think I've seen people with collars actually. So maybe they do. Maybe furries do wear collars. But I've just noticed that what I've done there is I've drawn that way too low. Because if you look at the positioning of the collar on this image, like that dangly part is right there, it almost touches the jaw. So what we want to do is start from that as our kind of defining feature. And there's a bit of a furry edge there. And what happens is that the strap emerges from that, and then we have the metal part. It comes in here. There we go. That just about covers that. Then we have this part sticks out here, and the rest of it disappears under the fur. And we don't really want to draw in an outline for this part because it's all fluff. Every single bit of it is fluff. Just this whole dog is just fluff. It's fluff all the way down. Let me just hide that for a second. This is actually I was worried about this, but this is actually starting to look really good. I'm feeling a lot better about this now. One thing I've done wrong is the width of that tongue, but that's easily fixable by doing that. See? Let's get our guidelines back. So, dark parts. After this merle we have a dark area here. And that's very much like that's pretty much entirely done dark there. There's a little lighter part here as well. And the rest of this is the merle. Actually, I'm starting to think that the way that I draw is actually like the amazing, perfect solution for drawing a blue merle dog. Because this is actually pretty much nailing the look of the fur here. The ultimate challenge for this one, and this is going to sound incredibly dark, but I think the ultimate challenge for this is, can I draw a dog that makes Becky cry? Because whenever she sees a really, really, really cute border collie, it reminds her of the ones that she had as a child, and she just starts to sort of openly weep, which I know is not, it's not psychologically healthy for me to try and do that to her on a regular basis. But if I'm specifically trying to draw that kind of dog, I've done all that fur the wrong way around. If you look at it, hang on, let me erase it all first. Here, on this part of the leg, you can see that the fur kind of, it goes out that way. So it starts thick there and gets thin there, which is what we want to do. Because that is going to be a completely dark leg. So we need that part of the fur to leak in that way. That's how it's got to blend in. Okay. So specifically for this kind of dog, if Becky looks at it and gets upset, that means that it looks like the actual kind of dog, which means I've done a good job. Which is an awful metric, but you know, I'll take what I can. I don't really have to worry too much about filling in the darker areas perfectly. I can go back and do that later. It's just about getting the feel of them, if that makes sense. So all this bit here, this is all pure black. That's got a bit of a takeover spot there. when we come down here, there's a bit of an edge to it. Now on the source image for this, it's kind of blurred out. I think that he's used a depth of field effect in taking the photo, and you can tell that because there's an object in the foreground where the depth of field is all messed up. If I show, oh, it's not actually in this cropped image of it, but in the foreground there's an object which looks kind of messed up in terms of its lightness levels, and I think that's because he's used a depth of field effect, which has done some sort of intelligent thinking machine argy-bargy to try and essentially fake a wide aperture and a short f-stop. One for the camera nerds there. So for this part we want to, and then we have this paw, which is not in great it's not in great detail because of the blur, so I'm kind of making this up as I go along based on what I think a dog paw looks like, which in this case it's got fluffy toes. So we have this kind of like a hard edge followed by a sort of fluffy underside there. And the same goes for this one, where it's got a kind of a it's actually narrower than I've drawn it there. So I'm going to come in a bit here and just get the angle right. I've hit the bottom of the image, so let's just polish that off. Get the toe lines in. How many toes does the dog have? I think this part actually, thinking about it. We have this one come into sort of there, and then it comes out further for the sort of, there's like a pair which gets shorter like that, and then there's the last one which you want to see more of, although the curve kind of, it's almost like a straight line curve. I really should have penciled this in. I should have done this on the pencil layer first, but I kind of know what I'm doing because it has this almost a sort of flat line there. So if I draw the top edge of that toe, this comes up to here for that toe and then continues on for that one. That one goes in there. This comes up to here. If I fluff it up a bit, it won't be immediately obvious. Dog paw, how does that work? How does dog paw work? Let's erase the entire foot, because I'm doing it wrong. I'm clearly doing it wrong. Let's erase everything back up to there, where I thought I had it correct up to that point. Let's come back in here and take a look at this. So what we have is a... Oh, I'm in erase mode. What we have is this edge here. These two here, it goes up to there, and then there, and then... That's basically the shape of this. So it's almost like we have a sort of, that part's flat, that comes in like a thumb. So let's just go back to this layer briefly. What we want for this is for this to come. Why can't we sample that? Screw it. What we want is for this to come down like so, and then jut in there. We have a flat part here, and then this essentially goes like that. That's in and out. That's sort of out and then in. So that goes out and then in. This one is just a vague curve there, vague curve there, and that goes like so. Which looks completely wrong, but you know, who am I to question science? So, let's get an actual pen colour. This comes down here, out and then in. I think that's the best I can do it from this image because it's just so blurred. It's so blurred that I can't get anything better than that from the... Yeah, let's go with that. I mean, this other paw is going to be even harder now because this paw is even more in the blur, and it has this kind of a similar situation going on where the paw kind of comes out like that, and there's a sort of toe-like appendage, toe-like appendage. So this one, so it doesn't quite come out as far, but it kind of goes like that. So this has this sort of shape going on. I'm just looking at where the sort of darker parts of this fur go. A part that comes down there, a part that comes down there, and a part that goes up here, like so. And then another part under here, which has all the fur going that way. Except that is wrong because this comes this way and that meets up with that because it has a kind of chicken leg shape going on. Yeah. All this over here is blue merle. All this out here is blue merle. And all this under here is also blue merle. And there's a bit out here as well. And so what we can do from this now is just bring these edges in to show the sort of edges of the darker parts. the big thick fat one came from. The thing about blue merle fur is it is kind of an optical illusion. None of the individual hairs on a blue merle dog are in fact grey. They're all either black hairs or white hairs. But it's the interleaving of them which gives the impression of grayscale. So you come away from a blue merle having apparently seen a grey dog, but actually what you've seen is a very closely knit black and white dog. And the tail, we have a similar kind of stripe pattern going on. A dark section there, dark section here. And all the rest of this is blue merle. I feel like I've drawn the tail too thin actually. I think it needs to be actually a much fatter, sort of fuzzier looking tail. And the hair just literally comes out in all angles in this part here. And then we have the blue merle part come in to this sort of area. We need a lot more merle in the ears, especially around these parts. The great thing about this is we don't really have to worry too much about the outer line because the hairs do actually stick out of the outer line on this part. parts of the shading. Let's just quickly turn off the pencil layers and see how we're doing. You know what? I actually quite like that. It's far from ideal, but it's got a lot of good stuff going on. I feel like we need to add a bit more sort of here to get that, because we've got the dark part of the rough here. I feel like we need a bit more dark part to the rough here. And I'm going to do the nose with my favourite technique, that is of course stippling. Turn off the dynamics. Give myself a slightly smaller brush. Yeah, so we're going to just stipple in this edge here. And what we have is a kind of a fade up to a light part underneath that dark area. And then we have the same kind of thing going on here. Which gives a kind of a light corona. So that part comes in around there. So what you actually end up with, just looking at this in a sensible fashion. God. How much of this going to take off? There we go. What you have is the sort of... What you have is a dark part here. Dark part here. Oh, of course, I've not got my dynamics on. You have this part here, you have that part there, and what you get is a kind of light section, dark section, light section going on. So what we want on here is for this light part to feel like it's spiraled all the way around, because it does kind of spiral all the way around. Starts there, goes round and under. So I shall start there, go around and under. So, go dynamics off, onto this. And what we have is a sort of a spiral that carries it around like that. It's going to do the same here where it goes under there, because it has come out from under here. Good in there. I feel like it needs to be a little darker in this area. See, by stippling instead of hatching the nose, it gives that kind of wet dog nose feeling, as it were. Yeah, I think we're almost done. I feel like it needs to come sort of closer into the eyes on the dark parts. The eyes feel very unsympathetic, which I didn't want. I feel like if I bring that eye out more there, let's turn the dynamics back on. I feel like if I was to open that eye out a bit wider that way, then what that would do is give me the room to add in that outer line that we see there, and we can do the same on this side. There's even less of it there. It's just a tiny little bit of white, and then if we so that brings the eyes to life in my mind. Maybe just a little bit of kind of a shading almost. Just to sort of darken around the outside of the irises. Yes, that's better. That tail looks very scrawny. It doesn't look right. Why doesn't it look right? Does it need to be thicker? Does it need to be fuffier? Does it need to be longer? I think it probably just needs to be taller. The thin stripes give it, in the one I've drawn, the thin stripes give it a look of being a very thin tail, but it's not, it's a fluffy tail. We need to make sure that that is reflected in the art, that it is a very fluffy tail for a very good girl. More like it. There's a lot of merle there that I've missed out actually looking at the main image. This merle comes all the way down to here. And there is of course a dark section there which I've completely missed out. Where that ends there, this has sort of a actually get this right, that the chest flips out too much. Just goes in kind of there. Let's just restructure this part. So this comes out to here, which is where this dark part kind of gets there. I think I'm going to call that done. Anything I've missed? Anything I've missed? Anything I've missed? Not really. Maybe that paw's kind of the wrong shape, but do I really want to go in and change that at this point? No, I don't. I'm going to stick with that as it is. That's Lluna. Yeah. Oh, actually, maybe a little bit more merle there, just on that part of the nose, because it is slightly lopsided. Not the nose, the merle. Like blue merle dogs, they tend to not be symmetrical. Don't really know why. It's just part of what makes them so attractive. Why don't they win all the dog shows? That's what I want to know. Because they so could. They're certainly cute enough. Right. Yeah, I'm willing to call that done. Done. Let's stop the recording. It's not like it's gonna. See you next time.